Hi, everyone. Today it is my pleasure to interview Mark McDougall. Did I get it right?
That's it.
All right. We talk about how your SaaS app can come out on top after that downturn. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Natalie. It's great to be here.
So you've been working as an independent CRO consultant for a few years now. Mm-hmm. How did you get started?
Yeah, so I think like every other consultant on the planet, I started out as like a generalist, a totally useless generalist. I was just a web developer, a freelance web developer. This is way back in like the early 2010s. I used to work at General Electric and just kind of pivoted from there to try and do my own thing and went into the freelance world. Totally unspecialized and completely useless. I was just competing with everyone online, you know, in all the online marketplaces and stuff. So I had a couple SaaS companies approach me looking for some work done on their site. And over time, I started to really understand the pain points of SaaS in particular. There are SaaS founders and SaaS owners and what they really want out of a website, specifically their marketing site. And I just figured, all right, let's just go all in on SaaS. I've dabbled in SaaS myself. Let's see if I can just bring as much value to the SaaS community as possible by building them websites that actually convert people through that funnel. So ever since about 3-4 years ago, I've been doing that exclusively.
So who would have thought a few months ago that this is the situation that we were going to be in, right? Because I know so many people here in the US were talking about media, just, you know, blowing everything out of proportion. And so many people did not trust this. I remember specifically a couple of episodes that I've recorded. And it is definitely astounding to see where we are right now. So let's talk a little bit more about what it is that you've seen with your clients. How can we, you know, we've seen that so many SaaS have suffered, but then there are some that either pivoted or, you know, benefited from this in some way. What it is that you see?
Yeah. So first, it's funny that you mentioned how no one really expected this. I was actually in the crowd of people that was saying, oh, this is nothing. This will blow over in a couple of weeks. Just like, you know, the whole swine flu of like a decade ago. And here we are. It's totally nuts. So I feel you there. But okay, so obviously the coronavirus pandemic is having a profoundly negative impact on the vast majority of the economy, right? It's affecting some industries more than others and some SaaS companies more than others. I actually have a friend that runs an event marketing platform, and he in particular and other similar SaaS companies have been just kind of totally torpedoed by this. But if we're talking generally, so we can make this as applicable to as many people as possible listening today, I think one of the main pieces of feedback I've been receiving from my clients is that a lot of people, much more so now than previously, are signing up for their application, and they're canceling after the first month. They're canceling it immediately so they don't get billed after the first month. And people generally do this all the time, especially when you have to give the credit card information, but it's been happening a lot more these days. And I mean, that's understandable. You know, people are really, really afraid right now. They're really afraid of long-term commitments. So the SaaS space specifically, I've seen some companies that are pivoting really well, and we can talk about them as well. But if you're experiencing customers signing up and immediately canceling more so than normal, I've got some advice for you today.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the way I've been counseling people through this is that when someone signs up and immediately cancels your service, it's a really useful piece of customer feedback in disguise. It usually means that there's probably some need for your solution, meaning this person may have the problem they're experiencing, and they're just trying it out without the commitment, and they just really, really, really don't want to be billed for that next month. So for anyone that does this, you know that they're on the fence to some degree. So if you can have a conversation with them, you can probably learn what it was that triggered them to sign up in the first place. So you can maybe dial that into your marketing a little more. And you can also learn what they think is really valuable about your solution. What would get them to stick around for that 2+ month period, and then bake that into your positioning long term. If you'd like.
That would be awesome. But how do we do that? How do we actually get them on the phone and talking to us, sharing with us their, fears or problems?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different, okay. I'm going to approach it this way. There's a couple different segments of people that as a SaaS owner or a marketing manager, you're going to want to get on the phone with. There's existing customers that are that you're trying to onboard and activate, and customers that have churned. Now, in the reverse order there indicates the ease of getting them on the phone. So people that are actively paying for your service, it's quite easy to get them on the phone and have a chat with them generally. Obviously, people are quite guarded with their time, but especially your customer evangelists, it's really just a matter of you and probably the SDR that's been talking with them saying, hey, can we just have a quick chat so we can see how we can adapt our service to better suit your needs? That's generally quite easy to do. And then there's the second category of people that you're trying to onboard. And for that, I've actually put together I'm actually building right now a little cold email template guide for people that's going to show them what they can do in terms of subject lines and email bodies and creative little ways to sneakily get people on the phone. So I'll come back to that. But the third one is customers that have churned. And this is usually where some of the most valuable insights can be gleaned. You know, if someone churns, especially after a couple of months. First of all, if you didn't know it was going to happen already, that's probably a different problem that needs to be solved. But let's say they churn out of the blue and you don't know why, and you want to try and get them on the phone. The best way I've seen companies do this is to go straight to the human on the other side. Try and send them a cold email that's got a little piece of your soul in it. That's a totally weird thing to say. So what I mean by that is put a little video in the email. And I use Loom for this to send custom videos when you're just asking them hey, Sean, or hey, Mary, whatever their name is, we're trying to get better over at Acme Corporation. And we're just hoping to maybe grab 15 minutes of your time to chat about what we can do better. And we're also offering you a $50 Amazon gift card to get you on the phone if you're interested. So something like that to make it an overwhelming win for those types of customers, those that have churned. I guess they're not really customers anymore, or maybe they will be after you've talked to them. Just make it an obvious no-brainer decision for them. Go out your way and make it totally easy, incentivize them, and then the expensive churn problem slowly will go away, once you learn what's happening there.
Now, one of the problems I hear founders talking about in their minds, I really don't have $50 as a gift card to give away if my tool costs, I don't know, $20 or $50 a month, right? So Here would be what I was talking about earlier in a few episodes is if someone comes and wants to cancel your service and they specifically mention something about, Corona or current situation, then do not cancel that, because we know that it's actually 5 to 7 to 10 times more expensive to get a new customer rather than to retain an existing one, right? So do not cancel that, but try to approach it so that offer a month, 2 month, 3 month free, because in a way that is going to be something like, hey, I understand that you're canceling because of current situation. I completely understand, and I would like to extend 2 to 3 months free of charge so that you continue using, and then because they say that Corona is going to be get better in a couple of months, here's 2 months for free, and then this is just completely something that I want to help you with. And this way you still keep the customer, and then you become friends because you give something first instead of asking of them.
Yep, absolutely. And I remember when I listened to that episode, and I thought to myself, that is really smart. It's not only, like you said, they're becoming your friend, right? You keep the customer, which, churn is horribly expensive. You lose all the potential revenue, and you have to go and source another customer to replace them. It's enormously expensive, but you're also building an enormous amount of rapport with that person. If you can be the person that saved or not necessarily saved their business, but really helped out their business by giving them presumably a really valuable tool for free for the next couple months. They're going to stick with you for years. They'll remember that.
One more thing that you mentioned, I want to piggyback on that. You said that if you don't know why your customers churn in the first place, then that's a kind of different problem to talk about. Yesterday, I led a conversation at SaaS Stock Remote Conference, and I was hosting a roundtable there. And we talked about communication strategies to keep customers from churning, or improve customer success as well. So, and one of the ideas that I shared with the group is that this is something that we started doing recently for my husband's SaaS, but we started doing weekly sessions, Q&A sessions, where we invite everyone, including customers, leads, people who canceled subscription, to join us on this weekly session where we answer people's questions. This can be both from a lead And that's a benefit actually to put them in the same room, because existing customers can, talk up about our tool, and then leads can hear about that and kind of take a note of that. And then I've heard from many customers that say, okay, so that puts you on a completely different level, because usually, software is so hard to reach the support, or it takes, days for them to get back to me. But knowing that once a week you are going to be there to answer my questions is actually lifting you up in my eyes. So yeah, there are many benefits to that. So I'm sure that this is also going to help you understand what are some problems and questions that your customers come to you that they are not necessarily happy, or something that you can improve. This way you get this feedback early on as well.
Exactly. You can't beat a conversation with a customer, especially one that you think's at risk of churning. Just being able to pick their brain and ask them what problems they're experiencing in a non-leading way that's how you don't get surprised by churn. And you can do to some degree, you can use Hotjar, Full Story, and all these kinds of tools to measure how people are using the application. Like if they're playing with a reporting tool and they're playing with the export part of it, but they look like they're kind of frustrated because there's no way to export to, I don't know, PDF or something, that might be an opportunity for the product dev team to get in there and say, hey, we need to have a more robust set of export options, But at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, having the conversation and getting those critical questions answered, that's the holy grail of keeping people sticking around.
So give us a couple of more examples. How can we benefit, if it's at all possible, in this current situation?
Yeah, okay, got it. So obviously we just talked about using the Downturn as a customer discovery tool, right? The other side to that coin, real quick, before I move on, is there's going to be a lot of churn, but there's going to be people that stick around. There's going to be customers that see you as indispensable to their business. And those are the kinds of people you really want to understand. They know what's truly valuable about your service. And if you can learn what that is, you can retool your positioning for when coronavirus goes away, and you'll have a much more powerful set of marketing tools on your site. But another avenue for profiting, I guess, from an economic downturn is what I'm calling using delight as marketing to set yourself apart. Because people are mostly quite scared right now, and a lot of people are getting desperate. That's why they're randomly canceling subscriptions left and right. But salesmen are getting desperate too, because they want to, fill up the pipeline so that they don't run into cash flow issues, which means their outreach is coming across a little more aggressive than normal. So if you can be the company that's sending them delightful, funny little campaigns that's putting a smile on people's face and helping them to feel a little better amidst all the doom and gloom, they're much more likely to reach out to you today than they were, a couple months ago. I've got a couple examples here I'd like to share.
Right, because I did get, actually just today, I looked at this email and a couple of emails just stood out to me. And I'm like, come on, this is just a publication who did not speak to me for like 3 years. Now they're going back to me and they're saying, hey, here we are. This is what we do. Yeah. Like, hold on, we have not talked for 3 years and this is how you approach me again? So I was kind of, just two hours ago, I read this email and I'm like, took a note of that. Yeah,
and a lot of people are just getting random emails from newsletters they subscribed to like 5 years ago that say, we're here for you during coronavirus. And it's like, who are you? What is this? Like, leave me alone. But here's what I've been doing. So I get most of my new clients from a consulting practice through outbound emails, usually cold outbound emails, but sometimes it's a little bit warm. And my current campaign, or my most recent campaign, the subject line is, hey, and then the prospect's name, I'm quarantined with a squirrel. And that's because I don't know if he's still up there, but I have had a squirrel trapped in my attic for the past couple of weeks, and I've been documenting the process of me trying to catch it and get it out. So I've got pictures of the squirrel like just chilling in the attic. I left it a little trail of almonds so that it could maybe escape out the roof. And then I actually went up there to try and catch it on my own. And it's just a total mess. I've got a whole bunch of photos. And I just send them to people, my prospects, over the period of like 2 months. Every couple of weeks, they'll get another update. And I'm not even talking about helping them book more demos or sign up more trials, because I know that my email signature says that already. They know that I'm they know what I do, right? So I don't need to say it in the body. I'm just trying to make them laugh and remember me. And I've never had so many opens on a campaign than I have with this most recent one. And the reply rate's been much higher than normal. But of course, cold email reply rates are always abysmal. But man, I get so many people saying like they're happy to receive this, and it put a smile on their face today. And I'm like, great, because there's not a lot of smiling happening right now. So I'm glad I could.
That's a fun little trick.
Yeah, it's fun.
What else do you have up your sleeve to share with us?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a big fan, and of course, you know this very specifically, Natalie, but I'm a big fan of using video in your outreach because it makes outreach more human. And suddenly when they don't reply to you, or if someone, wants to just, reply with something mean, they're not just replying to some anonymous unknown person. There's an actual human who's trying to establish a conversation. So whenever I host a new webinar, I have a big list of people that I'm trying to do business with, and I'll send a personalized video to each of them. And it's me in a top hat with sunglasses and a full suit on. And I've also got, I think I've got it right here. I've got this little fake mustache thing, and I just wear it here, and I'm like, this is your formal invitation to so-and-so webinar at 12 p.m. on Friday, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like a silly, stupid little thing that makes people smile, And if you're going to cold email someone and ask them to join a webinar, you better make them smile, right? Otherwise, you're going right in the spam inbox or the spam box, right?
It is very entertaining. I agree, because I've actually just yesterday, before jumping on my session, I've got a couple of recommendations from SaaS stock team, and they said that you need to be at least half, like 50% entertaining and 50% educational. I think that's what the split was. Maybe I'm, butchering that a little bit, but entertaining is a big part of that, huh?
Yeah. Was this for email outreach specifically, or just like on your site?
No, it was for my session, like for the speaking engagement.
Right. Yeah. I mean, entertainment is where it's at these days, especially with webinars, like people, it's really easy to just open them in a new tab and then just disappear. I've personally joined so many workshops in the past couple of weeks that just like SaaS roundtables and stuff, and people drone on and on and on. And I'm like, guys, you're not getting any engagement here. Like have some humanity, try and make people laugh, like do something different. So I'm glad that they're recommending that, because they're going to see a lot of results from that.
Alrighty, what else?
Yeah. So we've already talked about what you can do to reposition your marketing in the light of a global pandemic, talk to your customers, learn what works for them. And you can also use that for reducing customer churn. So again, it all comes back to just talking to your customers. You get them on the phone, as you said earlier about the Q&A. When you're having a conversation with someone, you're building rapport. They're much less likely to churn when they know that they're dealing with Natalie and her team over at Acme Inc. rather than, it's just Acme Inc. And the way I look at things in terms of churn is I use this concept called butter both sides of the bread. And that's referring to, the fact that I'm always really hungry, but whenever you eat a sandwich, not got butter on both sides of the bread, or mayonnaise in the States, it's really dry and it's an unpleasant experience. It's a horribly unpleasant experience, but no one really eats the sandwich for the bread. They eat it for the contents, the BLT, you've got the bacon, the lettuce, tomato. You're not eating it for the bread. But the bread's essential to keeping everything together. So you've got to butter it to make sure that it's good enough to keep it, it keeps it together and doesn't detract from the experience. And that's how I'm looking at churn. So with the life cycle of getting someone activated in your SaaS app, you've got the meat and potatoes, or I guess the center of the sandwich, which is their experience signing up and then going through the initial clicking the free trial and then going into the onboarding. And then you've got the underside of the bread, the bottom side of the bread, which is your activation process, where you're sending them emails and you're trying to start to build that relationship. And then you've also got the front side of the bread, where you're trying to make sure that as they're using your application over time, they've been a subscriber for a couple months, you're keeping touching base with them. You're asking if they have any problems. You're addressing customer support issues really promptly. So making sure you're doing all that is how you get away from having a high churn rate. But what's this got to do with the pandemic currently, right? Obviously, you're going to be experiencing a lot more churn. So you need a lot more butter. You need to make sure that you're being very, very, very generous with your time when it comes to helping people on your app and then helping them use your app long term. And as you do that, you're going to find your marketing team, your sales team is spending an inordinate amount of time with customers, which is great. I mean, one of the silver linings of this is if you don't talk to your customers and if you don't build that rapport, you're going to see people just ditching your app. But having those conversations allows you to influence your marketing in the future and reposition so that you're more effective there. And it makes churn go down globally, right? So that's the way I'm looking at it, right? Talking to your customers helps you reduce churn. It also helps you with the marketing aspects of things that we talked at the start there.
Recently, I spoke to one founder and I asked him to check what's his current app usability and feature activation. Do people actually use it right now? And he's like, I don't want to go that route because I'm kind of I don't want to, open this can with worms because I don't know what to expect. Maybe people just going to start thinking about, oh, yes, I'm still subscribed to that tool and leaving, which to that response, yes, you do need to be careful about that. But at the same time, like you mentioned, you need to give more time and attention to your existing customers to see how you can help them.
Absolutely. And for anyone that cancels their subscription after you try to reach out to them to learn what more they want from your application, maybe you find someone hasn't actually logged in 3 months, but they're still paying, and you reach out to them and they immediately cancel, you've probably done them a favor. I mean, you don't want them sticking around anyway. I'm sure there's no business out there building a healthy long-term business off of hoping that people don't accidentally use their app. It's in many ways, it's a good thing to make sure that your customer base is actively using your application and they're slowly becoming evangelists for your brand. Yeah.
What else? What else do you have to share with us?
I've got 2 more, and I think I'll bundle them into one because they're both pretty obvious. I think most people kind of know this. But the 2 are curbing non-essential costs and then hiring top-tier talent that gets let go. So obviously curbing non-essential costs is kind of a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised at how many SaaS companies I've talked to that when they look at all the SaaS apps or just recurring subscriptions they're paying for, they've been paying hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for stuff monthly, for stuff they don't even use or things that aren't really clearly tied to revenue generating activities. It's kind of nuts.
I was going to say that it is just so interesting that these times it is like a trigger for us to do all of those things that we should have done much sooner, things that we should always be doing, right? But we kind of postponing that. So my question is, why did we really have to postpone this? This is something that we should be doing on an ongoing basis. If we know that there is some fat that we can trim, we need to be doing that, of course. And you're right. In some cases, it is a good thing that we have, downturns happening to us, that we take time and, take care of those things that we should have taken care of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a more selfish note, I've been enjoying all this downtime because it's given me an opportunity to reset my life generally. I've just had so many recurring obligations to go to networking events every week, and it just all disappeared. And suddenly I've got all this time to spend with my friends and loved ones and focus on the things I actually want to do, like figuring out how to build a scalable business and deliver over the top for my clients. I mean, it's been wonderful. Yeah.
Get kids and then we'll talk.
To be fair, yeah.
Alrighty. So the last one you mentioned is top tier talent. I love it. Yes, there are so many people that have been let go of, and it is a great time to start posting the jobs out there and seeing what people apply, because you are going to have top tier talent available that was not previously available. Because even when you're posting the job, it amazes me how many people expect for people just to come and apply, and they do not do any outreach themselves. And I always say that, good people usually already taken. So you're going to have to do harder. You're going to have to work harder to get those top people, or you're going to get, B or C type of people. So now is a great time.
Absolutely. And especially in a couple of months, if things don't improve, you're going to have your choice of the cream of the crop for talent that gets let go. And it's not just necessarily, people that get let go. It's not just the intellectual capital. You've also got tools and resources that are going to become cheaper. Ad spend's going to be cheaper across the board. It's going to be a buyer's market for a little while. And if you've got the cash flow, if you've got the cash reserves, and you're talking to your customers and you're doing everything you can to just stifle the bleed and you make it through, you're going to do really well.
I like it. So it's not just thinking about this. It's not just about talking about the talent that is available, but when companies unsubscribe from some tools, then they are going to probably start looking for new tools. And unless they were 100% happy with their previous tools, then they might start looking for something new, huh?
Yeah. And when people do unsubscribe in mass, some people are probably going to knee-jerk reduce their prices. So if you needed something like that, then great, you get to get locked in at like half their normal rate.
So there is a silver lining.
But yeah, for a few people there is, you know. To be clear, I want to bracket this whole conversation with, this is terrible, it's tragic, it's a horrible situation to be in, but being the eternal optimist, I'm trying to find ways that people can profit from this, and there's a couple of things I've noticed that I wanted to share.
Cool. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you but should have?
I've got some actionable stuff out as well.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, so there's we talked earlier about reducing costs. If you're not using something like Custodian to track all the different kinds of SaaS applications you're signed up for, now would be a good time to do that, because it's going to help you comb through everything and maybe notice any stragglers that you're not using as much, and you can just cancel them right there. It's like a dashboard for all the different apps you're using. I've got the biggest recommendation, or the biggest actionable thing I can recommend, is get on the phone with your customers today or tomorrow or next week. But obviously that's easier said than done. So I'm creating a little guide that I'll have the link for you very shortly, Natalie, and we can pop it into the show notes.
That'll be awesome.
People can download the PDF and it'll walk them through exactly how I'm doing this for clients. And I'll also have email templates that I'm using that almost always get responses from customers, so they can just steal them if they want.
Can we steal your squirrel as well?
You can't steal my squirrel. That's well, I'd hope you steal him, actually. It's a pain, man. It's been a nightmare getting him down from there. My landlord's been losing his mind, but he's good for marketing, so hey.
Any other actionable tips?
Not so much actionable, but I've got a little list here of companies that are doing quite well. They're pivoting very well during the coronavirus pandemic. I've got a whole bunch of links I'll send over, but one I wanted to call out specifically is Slang, and their website is SlangApp, SLANGAPP.com. And what they're doing is they're actually offering to contextualize, the problem they solve is they help people learn new languages in a very natural, organic way. And they've currently released a English for infectious diseases course on their site. And that is, to me, like one of the best ways you can continue to deliver value and just give people just free, pure value that's tightly associated with the main problem you solve. And it's very timely as well. So they're giving away stuff for free. They're helping people out. And that's naturally going to get more people into their service long term. So I've got a couple others as well we can send through the notes, but these are the people to watch in terms of just being able to pivot so quickly like that.
Awesome. Yeah. Where can listeners know more about you and connect with you?
The best place is clarityfirst.co. That's just my site. I've got my LinkedIn and everything on there as well, but that's where you can go and listen to me soapbox via blog post or webinars and stuff. I've got all my thoughts on there and all my backstory and stuff like that.
Any last parting words?
Nothing novel. Just want to reiterate that, man, talking to your customers is so much more important now than it ever was. And you got to be the kind of person, you got to be the kind of company that helps people get through this. Because if you can do that, you're going to set yourself up set yourself up with that customer for a lifetime. So just get on the phone, learn what they want, learn the valuable things about your product, and that'll take you places.
Share with us what it is that you can help founders with.
So in a nutshell, I just help B2B SaaS companies book more demos and trials by optimizing their site for conversions. And normally when people come to me, the first thing I do is get on the phone with their customers. So if you can't be bothered doing it, hit me up. Just let me know. But I love to just get on the phone, learn about the kind of people that are signing up for their app, what's important to them, and then just refactor their web presence so that it resonates with them a little more.
Nice. So maybe in the next one, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
That would be awesome. All right. Well, Mark, this has been my pleasure. Thank you so much. You've shared lots of nuggets here.
Appreciate it, Natalie. Thanks for having me on.